Welcome to Voyager, Please, a hateful voyage through the Delta Quadrant. My name is Joseph.
And I'm your co-host, Peter.
So, as we mentioned last week, this is going to be our last Voyager review for a little bit. We're going to be shifting over to doing episodes of Picard, since it's an inescapable nostalgia trap that Peter and I are helpless before, like the event horizon of a black hole. We know ourselves, we can't help ourselves, and I don't have the time to do two shows a week as far as producing them, so we're going to stick to one, and we're going to do Picard, and then, pick back up on our journey through the Delta Quadrant afterwards. So I hope the diehard Voyager fans out there are not too disappointed. We promise we'll come back, but please indulge us in our need to talk about, current year Trek when it involves Sir Patrick Stewart.
I hope that this doesn't become a huge regret and that we don't find ourselves saying, gee gosh, I wish we were watching Star Trek Voyager.
I too hope this doesn't become a regret, although I'm strongly suspecting it will.
Are we going to do a pre-Picard, like, here's the rules, here's how this is going to work? Or should we do that now, or should we do it before we actually record?
Oh, what do you mean, what are the rules? What do you have in mind?
I think we need to go in with a cleansed palate. Think we need to both forget anything that we've seen as far as advertisements go and try to just take this thing as take it for what it is and not for our hopes or our fears. We need to give it a fair shake.
No, I intend to. I'm not going in hoping it's bad. In fact, I'm going in hoping very much that my expectations are subverted and it's very good. I have expressed on this show on multiple occasions with you, and when we're not recording and just shooting the shit, like how little faith I have in the creative vision of the people involved with this and how that worries me. But you know what? Maybe it'll come together unexpectedly well, and I'm ready for it to be the good. Did you watch the short Trek?
No, I haven't yet. I gotta get around to that.
Yeah, man, you got homework before we start this thing. Come on, man.
I'm so apprehensive on pulling the trigger on fucking CBS All Access, man. Like, they're out of line with their price. They want $6 a month with ads, or without ads is $10. And it's like, fuck you, man. Like, Netflix is what, 12?
Yeah.
All the movies and good stuff on Netflix. And what is on CBS All Access other than Discovery and now Picard?
I think the Twilight Zone, which was bad.
Was it bad?
Apparently, from the people I know who watched it, or like the first episode is the best one, and it's not very good. I'm like, oh, okay.
Can we approach CBS and say, hey, listen, we need press passes, or can you validate our subscriptions?
Or we could just live in Europe so that we could just use our fucking Amazon Prime subscription instead.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah, I'm a little envious of some of our fans who are like, oh, just I got Prime, so we're all good. I'm like, oh, yeah, it must be nice. Mm-hmm. How dare you have the audacity not to be nickel and dimed by mega corporations?
Here in the United States, each TV show has its own separate subscription. I'm very resentful.
That's a new thing. Yeah. That's a new thing, too. It used to be that basically everything was on Netflix. Some of it was on Amazon, and that was it. But everybody kind of got started to smell the money train, and now NBC's going to have their own streaming, and CBS already obviously does, and HBO got on that business, although it makes more sense for them since they have a really specific branded material.
Yeah, which is also great. I mean, we've got an HBO Go subscription, and I mean, everything on HBO is awesome, but not anything on CBS is awesome, and to charge fucking $10 unless you want ad supported, the big picture on this was piracy in the US got way out of control. Nobody was buying anything. And then Netflix and Spotify and, a couple big companies here's a really great technology. It makes it extremely easy and very attractive that for one price and under this beautiful AI, you can consume all the media that you would be pirating otherwise. And everybody just chilled out and quit doing it, and Steam sales and everything else. And then all these motherfuckers got greedy and they're like, no, we're going to make our own platform. And they fragmented to the point where it's like, would it just be easier to go find a place to download this rather than it's almost harder to find out what's streaming, what services are currently hosting the media you want to watch than it would be just to go out and download it.
And the hidden truth is that the copyright organizations like the MPAA and that sort of thing, they stopped trying to like sue people like they were back then.
Mm-hmm.
And they're no longer prosecuting piracy the way they used to, because it was so unprofitable for them to try and quell it that way. So not only is now piracy more attractive than it's been in a decade, it's also easier and carries far less consequences, because everyone's got VPNs now, and it's just it's going to eventually, I think, bite them a little bit, but not nearly as much as you think, because normies stream. Like, it got into the mainstream so much, it reached into people who wouldn't even know how to pirate something. And they're the ones that are going to be all in on this stuff. Fair because enough. Now there's these devices, you plug them in, you put in your credit card, and you're done, right?
Yeah.
It's really easy for them, and which is why they kind of gave up with the whole piracy thing, because now it doesn't cost them nearly as much money. We are not advocating piracy, by the way, because that would be wrong. We're just saying you can probably do it and it would have no consequences. That's all.
In the end, the only people really getting hurt are the cable companies, and I think that's just fine.
I think that's change we can believe in. And speaking of things that we can believe in, what episode of Voyager did we watch this week, Peter?
Season 4, episode 23, Living Witness. Joe, you hyped the shit out of this thing, and you've been hyping the shit out of this thing for quite some time. I believe, to quote you, this is your all-time favorite episode of Voyager.
That is correct. It absolutely is.
When's the last time you watched this prior to this viewing?
I think I watched this just before I decided to ask you if you wanted to review Voyager. Like, it's been pretty recent.
So there was no years. On second viewing, I've got different thoughts about it. This is certainly fresh in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I get a feeling you are going to disagree with me.
That's a misplaced feeling, Joe. I would have liked to watch this without your hype. I would have liked to watch this and just seen if it dawned on me, like, how good of an episode this was on my own, because certainly I had it under a microscope going in, and it's a great all-round episode, and in a very rare showing for Voyager, I am hard-pressed to find anything to really criticize or question, because the script was strong and the story they told allowed for a lot of rules to be bent and a lot of our normal harping to not apply.
I couldn't have said it better myself, my pedigree chum, that the way that they wrote this made it so that any nitpicks, I think there's one nitpick you can have in the whole episode, and it's the conceit of why it is the Doctor is involved. But I don't care, because it's in service of a great story. Fine. Okay, that's a thing, I guess. Guess they had that at some point. Whatever, The backup module for the Doctor is what I'm referring to. It's even called out in the Memory Alpha of this kind of seems to contradict all of their worries about shipping a message in a bottle when they send the Doctor to the Alpha Quadrant, to the encounters Andy Dick, and they have wacky hijinks together. That if there's a backup module, why do they give a fuck? But I don't care. It's a great Trek episode. It allows Robert Picardo just to fucking kill it the whole way. And we get to see what the crew would look like if they were Nazi Hitlers. Hitler Nazis, super Nazis.
We start off with Janeway giving a little speech. Let me see if they got it here, because it's a nice warm-up for the whole episode. Wow, they didn't even include that in Memory Alpha. Basically saying that, when diplomacy has run its course and fails, then war becomes the viable option. And we notice that there's a very harsh lighting to her ready room. She has taken a uncharacteristically firm body posture, and as she turns around, you see that something is certainly off about Catherine Janeway. Gone is the ugly ass purple turtleneck I've criticized so many times. It's been replaced by a black turtleneck. She's got on some black leather strangler gloves, and her short haircut, which looked terrible when they first rolled it out, but I think has looked. We haven't talked about her hair in a while. That haircut she's been rocking, I think it subverts her command aura and makes her look a little bit younger and more girly. But in this case, it's gone, and some sort of a dead animal seems to have crawled up and laid on her head, and what I would later come on to describe as hair like my gym teacher had.
The butch lesbian of your worst nightmares type of haircut. It's like Red from Orange is the New Black came back in time and slapped her haircut on, the past version of her actor. It's fantastic. If I was going to envision an evil Janeway, it would be with this haircut. I mentioned before when you kind of reflected on how much you liked evil Janeway and vis-a-vis, like, oh, just you fucking wait. And man, like, Kate Mulgrew is so in the zone playing this character as just this, mustache twirling, Schadenfreude obsessed evil Janeway. She does it with far more ease than playing her actual character.
Yeah.
It's like being hammy and evil seems to have just been something of like, yeah, I can do that. That's cool.
So in Vis-a-Vis, she was much more flippant and irreverent, right? And I really enjoyed that. In this, she is... I mean, she's a space Nazi. She is very, very authoritarian, lawful evil. And she's talking to a guy whose name is what?
I don't remember if they ever...
It's Daleth.
No, Daleth, yeah.
And I will describe him as an alien that is essentially the embodiment of Ric Flair. He has orange skin and bright white hair, and he's like one away from some sort of pro wrestling move. And what's going on is he is trying to negotiate with Voyager. He is using the location of a wormhole that can be stabilized in exchange if Voyager uses its superior technology to kick the shit out of his political enemy and capture the enemy rival species president. And Janeway ain't having it at first. And as we get in closer, we notice that the gloves in the turtleneck aren't the only thing that's changed here, and the dead animal on her head. She does not have a comm badge, and she does not have any command insignia. And I don't know anything about this episode at all. So instantly, the question is in my head is this our Dark Mirror universe episode? And, are we in Trek continuity, Dark Universe, Mirror Universe, or is this something else? And I really enjoyed that I wasn't able to pin it down immediately in the beginning. Ultimately, Janeway agrees to go along with the plan and that she's going to take out this rival alien species leader. She goes out to the bridge. We see some things are very different. There's Kazon walking around in Starfleet uniform.
First time we see them in a long time. Feels like forever.
That is very true. I cannot remember the last time we talked, because it was a big deal when they brought it up. It was someone else talking offhandedly about the Kazon. And again, I mean, Kazon were a big
deal. The Borg. It was 7 of 9 talking about how the Borg thought the Kazon weren't worth actually assimilating. Remember? They're like,
motherfuckers.
This resistance is futile, but maybe you can just go. Maybe I'll call you later. I'll hit you up on Facebook.
Do you need an Uber to go home?
Like, I'm a head out.
Your patchouli has no place in the collective. We've got Neelix the Hedgehog in a uniform, and we've got some very severe draconian lighting throughout the ship. And it looks... Oh, and we also have Chakotay rolling around, too. Chakotay, instead of his brushed back butthead haircut. He's got like his hair kind of brushed forward. It looks cool, and his tattoo has become like half his face. He's got some real pro wrestler vibes going on himself. And I think out of all the characters we see in this dark version of Voyager, he ends up being my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, well, jumping ahead, like everybody is evil for the sake of being evil. And I feel like Chakotay's role in this dark version of the crew, he's still the reluctant, like, I didn't want to be here. These aren't really my ways. I've got the strong tie to my people. We don't have to, I don't want to torture you. You don't want to be tortured. I don't want to torture you. Just give me a peaceful way out of this. And I don't know, maybe he was lying in that little interrogation, but in my head canon, like, he knows this shit is wrong and this is not the Starfleet he wanted to be a part of, but he's still forced to be in it now and is kind of resisting in his own way.
My only objection to your statement, Peter, is that you got his name wrong. You said Chakotay. What was his name?
Oh, God, was it Chakotay?
No, it was Chakotay.
Yeah.
It's the way that Kate Mulgrew constantly mispronounced his name in the first season on purpose. And everyone did it. I mean, it's just like, that's beautiful. Like, oh, okay, well, you know what? This is a good enough joke for all of us to be involved. I like it. So
the narrative rolls forward a little bit more, and evil Janeway, who has agreed to get the leader of the enemy alien species, she's not going after him. She's just going right into, like, war atrocities. They get into orbit over the planet of whoever the poor victimized aliens are. And she lays on Daleth, the Vascan ambassador, that they're going to start deploying biogenic weapons, which are like hella illegal in the Federation.
Yeah. It's like basically anthraxing them.
Yeah. That they're going to start laying the stuff down on the surface. And we cut over to sickbay and we find out that the biogenic weapons are going to be implemented using the doctor's neural network. And we see some cabling going up into the back of the doctor's head, which has been opened up, and he's got circuitry in there, which seems real odd for a hologram because he's not really a hologram.
Yeah, so the doctor is an android in this current reality state of being, whatever you want to call it. Everyone acts with a sinister edge. Everything has this sort of dark persona. They start firing their phaser biogenic weapons at the planet, and we get a shot of Voyager itself, and it's got like a billion giant phaser cannons on it. Like, it looks like a Iowa class battleship,
like,
with giant guns on the side.
It looks like the trans-warping Enterprise from All Good Things, when in the future Enterprise comes out with that the phaser cannon and blows a hole through those Feklar class Klingon destroyers. I want to roll back to the doctor because he is like a straight up Soong type android too, right? He's like a little more paler. He's got the gold android eyes and he looks fucking sweet. And this is where I continue to wonder, is this some sort of dark mirror universe situation? Because Next Gen never really got a proper mirror universe. The closest we ever really got was Yesterday's Enterprise, wherein the Federation had been entrenched in tying back to the Star Trek XXX porn parody.
Yeah, there you go.
Where the
available right now for all of our patrons on Patreon.
Nice plug.
Thank you.
But in that version, in that alternate timeline, Federation Klingon war had been going on, and the Federation had become much more militant, calling the Enterprise the warship Enterprise, similar to as Janeway calls Voyager the warship Voyager. So a Soong type android. Now, in the Yesterday's Enterprise, the war with the Klingons had strained the Federation. They lost some colonies, and it wasn't this lovey-dovey peaceful society where people could just go off like Noonien Soong did and crank out androids on these far-reaching colonies. So there was no data in Yesterday's Enterprise. So cut off the war with the Klingons, making the Federation hard version of this.
Wait. I thought there was. Hold on.
Was Data in yesterday's Enterprise?
I'm pretty sure he was. 1 second.
You know what? There was one version. I must look like a big idiot now if he was not actually part of that.
Oh man, such intense research,
such intense Googlings.
Yeah, he was there. He was in the episode.
All right, well, let's cut that out.
No. Shh. Your embarrassment must for me.
I thought that there was one of the alternate timelines where they point out that Data did not exist because...
Man, you borfed that bad on a TNG factoid right before we watched Picard. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's so rough. How embarrassed do you feel right now? Do you feel really embarrassed?
10 out of 10. Would not embarrass myself like that again.
So they finally pull the camera out after the weapons start getting fired. And we find out, we get our first Inception blong. And we're not actually watching real events. We're not actually watching the parallel mirror universe. We're watching a recreation of what apparently some people think is history. One of these Kyrians is explaining to another group of people, some who are Kyrians, some are the Vaskins that we just seen, that 700 years prior, the, quote, warship Voyager, end quote, showed up and apparently acted in this fashion. And so the entire episode to this date is happening at the furthest point forward in Trek history, 700 years from, the 24th century. So we're talking about the early 3000s, and is explaining a piece of their own history as they've interpreted it. Obviously, the way they've interpreted it is pretty fucking crazy. I do say, though, I did like in the recreation how the ambassador mentioned that Voyager's reputation had preceded them. Like, the next door file must be fucking huge, right?
Absolutely.
See these guys fucking coming. Know how to offer them shit that they want about going home, to the Alpha Quadrant. It's a great and interesting setup. Like, this is a historical recreation, and it sets the stage for, I think, an incredibly intriguing premise of, how victimized groups use history in a political fashion. It's something that we deal with even today.
And not just that. The real genius of this episode is this is like a PS, a postscript to every other Voyager episode we've ever watched, because we always follow the crew as they show up someplace new, maybe kill someone, always get involved in some nonsense, and then eventually just peace out, right? And usually in the process leave a huge mess behind in their wake.
Oh, terrible mess. Just like last couple weeks when they destroyed an entire civilization's capacity to survive because of the whole Omega directive thing.
Yeah. I mean, even back to the sexual assault accusation one.
Oh, yeah. Those guys with the weapons where the guy gets murdered essentially for the fact that the one we didn't do a review on.
Yeah. I can go backwards. Let's do it right now. Let's go back through the last couple episodes we've watched and pick out where did Voyager leave a mess behind. Unforgettable was
Chakotay falls in love with the aliens they can't remember.
So she's got to go back and face the music for murdering somebody because she fell in love with Chakotay. Omega Directive, certainly. Star Trek porn parody. Maybe not so much of that.
Vis-a-vis, that one they kind of helped fix, so we'll give them a pass there. The Killing Game, part 1 and 2.
Hirogen brought that on themselves.
But the Hirogen brought it on Voyager because prior to that, they wouldn't help them capture a member of species 8472.
And also electrocuted that dude and destroyed their entire galaxy-spanning relay. Super dick move.
Yeah, so you've got retrospect, obvious. Prey, obvious. Hunters, obvious. A message in the bottle, obvious. So that was all connected. Then there's waking moments, which was the episode with the sleep aliens. That one they did not actually cause for themselves, right? Like they just kind of like wandered by the wrong part of space, and these fucking dream vampires show up and cause them problems.
They were
that
pretty
one's
heavily
not on
victimized in that one. I'll give them a hard pass on that.
Mortal Coil, no. Concerning Flight,
God,
no.
Don't mention that fucking thing.
The only victims of Concerning Flight were us. Okay. Random Thoughts, that one was their fault. They went to the psychic planet with the angry half Klingon that wants to like murder everyone.
That they asked for it. You don't be a planet of super sensitive, limp-wristed sissies who can't take a negative thought in your presence and not have signs up all over the fucking place saying, "Do not come to our surface if you are a meanie head." But anyways, it's like 80% of Voyager episodes. Voyager makes a mess and then zips away, and who the fuck knows what happens? Well, this is the episode where you find out that 700 years after Voyager just stuck their dick in the mashed potatoes.
And they're still feeling the effects. They got museums. They've got cosplay recreations. I mean, this is like the equivalent of someone not liking your LARP character, so they've created an entirely new LARP organization in order to like role play killing your characters because you've traumatized them so completely. I know that sounds absolutely crazy and no one would actually ever do that, but this is the closest equivalent we have of that occurring in Star Trek, for sure.
And what's cool about this entire setup, as you said, people weaponizing half knowns, right? People manipulating facts to present an alternative narrative. I think this episode does a great job of really fleshing it out, really making you understand both sides of this conflict and really making it seem like a genuine mess and not just bullshit sci-fi. This guy's face is painted purple and this guy's face is painted orange and there's a problem. Like this really...
Yeah, I agree. I agree in the sense that the hate in this society feels a little bit more lived in than the shit we usually get. And I think it's because they used a lot of terminology and sort of like things that we can relate to. There was one point where one of the Vaskins like says how he has Carrion friends. That was like, ooh. I felt that one. That makes me understand what's happening really well. Just the use of that, the way that phrase was used, you know?
Yep.
And because of that, you kind of like get a feel for what's happening a little bit more intimately than you otherwise would, even though it's just like space aliens with weird shit on their foreheads versus aliens with weird shit on their foreheads. Yeah, versus Ric Flairs. And the idea that this episode is about the victimized parties actually not being the victims is a bold choice, right?
Big one.
I think that's like my favorite part of the payoff of this episode is that you think that the episode is going to be, you know, a vindication of the victimized because that tends to be the safe thing to do. But instead, it suggests that, you know, this is 700 years in the past. A lot has happened, and history has been interpreted in such a fashion for political reasons, not in service to the truth. And that has consequences for societies, which is potent in 2020 when we are reviewing this, and it was probably just as potent then. But we'll get to that. For now, you know, see some of the background that Carrion curator named Quarren is providing as far as their awareness of Voyager, and he's clearly just getting shit wrong, right? He's like in the ballpark of correct, but completely off on the details. We've already seen that visually with the recreation, but he's like, there were 300 people on Voyager when we know it's close to half that. That they assimilate other species, and they have like Borg drone soldiers and Kazon and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, they encountered the Kazon. Yeah, like 7 of 9 is there. And then you kind of see like, oh, this is 700 years in the future. Oh, there's been factual drift. And now they just, they don't have as good information anymore.
Yeah. There's breaks between the false narrative that this museum is portraying. And it's during one of those breaks where the member of the Vaskin like calls this guy and is like, listen, this is bullshit. And I don't agree with how you guys are spinning this. And this is all horseshit. And Quarren's like, no, it's legit. And in fact, we've discovered some new evidence that's really going to lay this matter to rest, because we found a artifact from Voyager that actually contains active data on it. And the dude lays out there, well, what are you going to do if that data contradicts what your narrative is? And it's a pretty cool place for them to plant this commercial break. But during, like you said, one of these little vignettes, the good guys invade Worship Voyager and lock down the engineering area. And Janeway does like a token resistance effort to get some security teams in there. And I really love Tuvok's performance in this. Tuvok on two levels. One, Tim Russ, like you said, this is his directorial debut and it's his one and only. And I think he really knocks it out of the park in this episode. And two, Tuvok in the episode is very, their interpretation of Vulcans is way off. Like Tuvok's smiling. He's clearly a sadist. He's enjoying the orbital bombardment. But when they can't get the security teams into engineering to repel the raiders, Janeway's like, well, we tried. What choice do I have but to unleash the Borg? And she calls down to the alcove, and it's 7 of 9 back in the full Borg regalia with 3 other drone flunkies. And boy, I can only imagine how excited Jerry Ryan must have been to find out that she had to put all that shit back on.
Stevie said the exact same thing, by the way, when she saw that. Like, oh, but that was a great fucking day. Read the call sheet and see you got to go in and get that stuff on you.
Do you think on a certain level she's like, God, I don't want to put that on, but you know what? At least I'm not just going to be like a skin tight outfit Barbie doll for
I'm not going to be a piece of masturbation meat for a bunch of goddamn 90s neckbeards. Spare me that fate.
So, but she sends in the Borg, and they just go in and just club the fuck out of these guys. They just beat the hell out of them. They're getting shanked in the neck and thrown around, and like that big Borg like cyber arm like comes down and judo chops a guy. And they're just totally like these junkyard dogs ripping these guys apart. And Seven's like, yeah, we got him subdued. What do you want to do? And she's like, well, you did want to expand your assault force. Go ahead and assimilate. I'm like, man, how fucking ice cold.
That's why I love it, man. Like, everyone gets super into being the evil version of themselves. There's no hesitation from anybody.
And
they're just in it.
I love that on the bridge, there's just security dudes chilling out with phaser rifles. And I was like, I know this is supposed to show that they're quote unquote evil, but all I'm seeing here is that like these guys are maybe not big dummies and they've learned that the bridge gets raided like once every other episode. Maybe having some armed guards around isn't the worst idea ever.
I do like that the use of Harry Kim is of being a hardcore interrogator that's just like putting a beating on some guy and then like has to be stopped from using, of course, the deadliest weapon of all, a space pipe. I mean, I can't ever escape the he's gonna hit him with the space pipe, and the doctor's like, no, that'll cause too much damage.
You know what? That's
we can't have you go near him with the space pipe. I'm going to melt his brain instead with this hypospray. That's going to go way easier.
Literally melt the brain. The doctor's so fucking ice cold in this. I love him as an evil android. I love him as an evil android even more than I loved him as a sociopath hologram. It's the contacts, I think, that really sell me on it. Good observation on Harry Kim, who is always the young, meek guy who pulls the 1 in a million answer to the math problem out of his head. And in this, like you said, he's just a fucking hitter.
Yep, that's it.
He is
Neelix is at his station in the bridge. Like he's the ops officer in this, like not the cook. And so yeah, Kim is just
a leg breaker.
Just straight up a thug. Love it. Whooping on a guy with his goddamn strangler gloves on. Mm-hmm. It's great.
So the Borg get in there. They wreck everybody's asshole. Janeway throws him to the dogs. And just to kind of like wrap up the narrative on this, this Daleth guy, the Vascan ambassador, the King Ric Flair, right?
Right.
He's like, this shit's out of control. I did not sign up for cultural genocide. And this is interesting that like in this revisionist history, even though he was the instigating factor in bringing Voyager into the conflict, this narrative backs off of him being like a bad guy, right? He's like, I didn't sign up for this. This is genocide. This is too far. You crazy ass humans. Look at all the death you're causing. And Janeway is like laughing maniacally and twirling her mustache. And it's like, you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Fuck these guys. We're going to get you what you want, whatever the cost, because we want this wormhole bad. And your ass can go wait in the brig until we have what we want. So they bring a couple of the survivors from this raiding party. And like we just mentioned, it's Harry, Kim. And this is a scene where Chakotay is like, listen, I don't want you to get hurt any more than we have to. Like, just give us the information. I'm a pacifist, blah, blah, blah. He's doing his diplomacy thing. The doctor's like, let me melt his brain a little bit. And that does the trick. They find out where the leader guy is. They fly over. They call him up to the ship. Janeway's like, bend the knee. He's like, no. There's a little martyr moment. The Daleth guy kind of, I don't know if he pleads for his life or what. And Janeway ends up icing both the what will become the martyr and his aide in the back with a phaser rifle, and what was a very disappointing lack of special effects. If ever there was time to disintegrate someone, it would have been this scene, and instead they just roll their eyes up. And that's my real letdown moment of this entire episode, which should have been some gruesome ass Federation weaponry. They just roll their eyes backwards and fall forward like, ugh.
Yeah, they die very unspectacularly. This guy's named Tedrin, and whatever, Tedrin's homie. But the point is, this is where the simulation ends. That Janeway personally like executing people, and everything you said about the Vascan guy, like obviously having regret and all of this to like paint this picture this way. And then they talk about the piece of data that was recovered. Like they cut to commercial, we go back, and Quarren is like in the simulation working on the data module they recovered with period tools, thinking that's the way to fix it. And sure enough, he starts to kind of get a heartbeat and notices there's a lot of data. And then says, wait, no, that's more than a data. It's a program. Wait, is this an Optotronic program? Is this a hologram? And then plugs it in to see what it is. And sure enough, a familiar face materializes in front of us. It is the Doctor. And as he relates, this is the backup copy of him. Well, I already mentioned this is kind of stupid that they decided to have all of this drama in prior episodes about there not being a backup copy of the Doctor, but you know what? You could just say that this episode happened before that, right? This happened before, Message in a Bottle, because we don't know when it happened in Voyager, right?
We know that it happened after Kess.
It happened after 7 of 9 was on the ship and deborged. That's it. So if you want, you could interpret this to say, oh, this happened before Message in a Bottle, and as a consequence,
boy, Joe, you're going real native here.
They don't have a backup copy anymore when they send them to the Alpha Quadrant. There, we did it. We did it, Reddit. We made it work.
It does not feel good.
No,
I reject.
Okay. Well, anyway, whatever. It's a backup copy of the EMH. He shows up and he's like, what the fuck? Why am I in engineering? What the hell? I don't have my mobile emitter. Oh no, it's those guys who keep fucking our shit up. Security, get in here.
And to clarify on this, the museum exhibit, one of the exhibits, is basically just a big holodeck. So you can go in and walk around what they thought Voyager was. And it's using tools from the Voyager simulation that this guy's able to reactivate this. So
it seems to suggest there's a lot of just like holo emitters everywhere, because he goes everywhere in the museum.
Well,
he never has a mobile emitter, and they talk about how AI has rights as people, so on the planet. So it's they never go into it, and it doesn't fucking matter.
They don't need to. You've got
it doesn't fucking matter.
Building blocks there to fill in the story, and it works. And look, Star Trek, that's all I need. I don't need a super explanation. I just need two kind of things that make sense, and I'll fill in all the gaps myself. That's all. My explanation's better than what's probably your bad explanation. So the dude hits him up. So this guy, what's his name, Quarren? Is Quarren anything special? He kind of looked like Loki from Supernatural. Is it the same guy?
I don't think so. I never watched Supernatural, though.
Wow. That's impressive. Look him up.
I mean, I take it back. I watched like Supernatural in the first like 5 seasons. And then, when it should have ended, I also stopped watching it.
Hey, I did too. Well, Loki was in those parts. But he's like, look, this is a real big deal. You're going to fill in a lot of gaps here. Oh, and also you might be charged on war crimes because, like you mentioned, on my planet, AI has rights and they are also held accountable. And boy, do you have a lot to be accountable for. Did you see the simulation where you were a crazed robot beaming AIDS to the surface?
Literally, you were shooting AIDS cannons at us.
Out of your brain.
Like this. It's like you were a part of the gathering of the Juggalos, just shooting AIDS cannons all over the place.
Doctor ain't having it. And if there's one thing the Doctor is not good at, it is not being a bitch and escalating things. So he really acts like a bitch and really escalates things to the point where he just gets himself turned off because he rejects everything. And I'm sure there's like 100 better ways to approach this situation. Just be woken up out of bed and find out that you are 700 years in the future, which what a terrifying premise in and of itself. And what a very real thing that could happen to any android or robot or computer program, just to be turned off. Your dudes died and be turned off way in the future in some sort of crazy Aeon Flux episode.
And to the credit of the episode, they let the Doctor actually reflect on that a couple different times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't rush through it so much that the EMH doesn't like say, well, shit, like everyone I know is dead and I really hope they made it home. I may never find out if whatever happened to them, like their grandchildren's grandchildren are fucking dead and I'm never going to see anyone ever again. Like, they do give time to him to sort of explore that a little bit, which is nice.
And even at the very end, those feelings end up shaping, his final fate, which I thought was cool. But in this interjection, in his initial moments, things do not go very well between him and Quarren. And right before Quarren turns him off, he challenges him the same way the patron of the museum did earlier. He said, you think you know what's going on here, but can you accept the fact that you might be wrong and the facts that I have aren't going to jive with your narrative? And that really strikes a chord with Quarren, and that's when he just flips the off switch on him. Which, when you think about the fact that AI is supposed to be on equal footing with regular people on this, like, that's a real shit move on Quarren's end to just diss him like that.
It's a perfect note, though, because it's easy to say I will change my lifelong held opinions about things in the face of information or evidence to the contrary. It's easy to say that because that's what you're supposed to say, right? That's what a normal, rational thinking person is expected to do. That's the ideal. But the reality is messy. The reality we see every fucking day in the real world, and this is a reflection of it, is when your ideals are challenged, particularly when they are challenged with evidence, particularly when they're challenged with evidence that you know, and that deep part of your soul that you can't deny, that you can't self-deceive. It is extremely uncomfortable, and rarely, if ever, do people actually grasp the moment and reflect and say, yes, I will choose to change based on this information. Instead, what do? They defend, they double down, they triple down if they have to, they get angry, they get irrational because people don't actually want that. And that is, I mean, I think I enjoyed watching this episode more today than I ever have before because of that. Because that's become so resonant in society and resonant in culture now that people have just drawn these lines where they are just incapable of recognizing or accepting things that they don't want to accept. And that's what we see there. I'm going to turn this information off. I'm going to turn the doctor off because I don't like what he's saying. I don't want to confront the truth that he represents. I would rather deny it. And of course, because this is Star Trek, because this is the best of all worlds, he comes back, he reflects, he says, I have to do this as much as it makes me feel uncomfortable because the truth is more important than how I feel. But that's what makes it idealistic.
So the guy playing Korn, his name is Henry Wuornos. I'm sure I butchered that, but it's ironic because while we're sitting here talking about all this, it got me thinking back to the Dinosaur People episode when we're talking about Voyager having an impact before they just fly away. And ironically, this guy playing Korn also played for Gengen, which was the star of the Dinosaur People episode, Distant Origin, who finds evidence that the dinosaur people came from Earth and that Voyager is their link back. And that's the other big Voyager episode where it's like, this challenges our way of thinking. Voyager represents a potentially dangerous truth. And it's interesting that he's kind of the focal point on both of those. He was also in the Drumhead, that Nora Satie episode from TNG, but yeah, him hitting both Korn and for Gengen, this guy's got himself in a niche, I think, for Voyager. Good performance regardless.
I agree. He had kind of like a line he had to absorb for this, you know, to kind of get into that. He did a good job of doing. I appreciate his performance as well. He turns the doctor back on. He says, okay, tell you what, how about you'd show me how this actually worked, you know? And the doctor is going to create his own holographic version of events so that he can explain what he saw, what actually happened, right? Because the doctor, that's his thing. Like, I don't want to be involved in your bullshit problems about your society. I want to tell you what actually happened because I'm offended that you are essentially treating the memory of my friends, my family, like they're fucking supervillains. It's atrocious. They're spitting in their graves, I think is what he says.
There's a point in the alternate history where Janeway's looking for ways to track down the enemy's leaders, and there's just like a straight up fist fight in the briefing room. Like, I think Paris gets on Chakotay's case about how he's a shitty leader, and then Neelix pops off, gets called the Hedgehog, and then Chakotay beats Paris's ass, and like it's just this brawl until Janeway pulls a phaser and blows up a wall display.
It's like one of those. Remember the like supervillain things that you posted the other day that you made reference to?
The Evil Overlord,
the Evil Overlord stuff. That's like a classic Evil Overlord thing of like shooting something to get the attention of your henchmen or something. Mm-hmm. There's probably an Evil Overlord rule about that too. But ultimately, we start to see the doctor's simulation of what happened, which of course is what you would expect. Everyone's got their normal uniforms on. Janeway's hair has gone from, your nightmare gym teacher to normal youthful Bob. She is actually making a little trade deal with the Ric Flairs. They are going to trade medical supplies for dilithium. And actually, the Ric Flairs sort of warned them to say, let's make this deal quick because there's these Carrion guys that we're kind of feuding with, and they keep threatening they're going to start a war, and I don't want you to get caught in the middle. So why don't we make this swap, and you can get the fuck out of here because this is a bad part of town. You don't want to be here. And Jane was like, fuck, I understand. Like, you're I understand you're rational people. Have to deal with it all the time, bud. Don't worry. But, of course, as if on cue, that's when the Kyrians show up. They actually kill people in engineering.
It's been a while since we've seen Federation deaths.
Yeah, like three people in the background just getting murdered that day, which is something. That's like, when in a ship with only like 150 people on it, they take a loss like that. That's a big hit to the crew rotation.
Luckily for B'Elanna Torres, she's out on maternity leave, or she could have been one of those 3 people.
Not seen in this episode at all. She's mentioned at length.
Yeah.
They talk about her probably because they can't show her. But this is when Roxanne Dawson was on leave, having given birth to her daughter, who, given the age of the episode, of course, is, I think, old enough to drink now, which is pretty crazy. But they take 7 of 9 and a few others hostage that were down there. And we see that the raiding party is led by the sort of Martin Luther King / Gandhi of the Kyrian people, the same person that was executed earlier, summarily so by Janeway, and that he's actually kind of a total douchebag that's raiding Voyager for parts, murdering its crew members, and then taking people hostage. Not a peacemaker at all.
No, and even in his idealized version, I thought this guy really came off as a douchebag because, like, as Voyager is bombarding the surface with biogenic weapons, this dude refuses to relent or whatever, and it's like, this, just bend the knee, man. Like, I don't know what you're waiting for. And yeah, this other version of him is even worse. So what ends up really going down is they take hostages. They end up in the mess hall. Janeway rolls up there. 7 and 9 was their hostage, which was a bad move because she ends up busting a move, kicking some ass. And the King Ric Flair pulls out a pistol and zaps, what was his name, Tananid or something? Zaps the other guy and kills him.
Ric Flair.
Well, Ric Flair kills the other guy. And
King Ric Flair.
And Janeway's like, whoa. That's, I don't like this. But it happened anyway. She says, all right, get this all off my ship, and we need to get the fuck out of here. And that's pretty much where they part ways.
So we find out that this simulation isn't being watched by not just the Doctor and his new friend Quarren, but also apparently the Arbiter's Council, which is not an entirely balanced group. It's got 1 Kyrian on it and two Ric Flairs. The Kyrian is like very angry that this is what the Doctor is presenting and wants to kill him immediately, while the 2 Ric Flairs are like, woo, no. And we should find out more about what happened, because if we've gotten it all wrong, because someone from that saw it is telling us that we've interpreted the information directly, that's worth exploring. And the Doctor says, actually, if I can get this tricorder working, I scanned this whole situation. It'll tell you what happened.
What are the odds?
I just got to get it to turn on.
What are the odds that was the exact tricorder used to scan that body? That's like, an assassin's rifle being left behind at the scene of the crime. It's just, gotta love those odds. But the local victimized aliens like, no, this is bullshit. We finally have things starting to swing our way. We don't like this new truth you're telling Quarian. You're a fucking traitor. You, of all people, should know better. You built this museum. You should know about this. And he's like, listen, my mission was never a political agenda. It was the truth. And now we finally have the tools to start telling the actual truth. And they're like, well, fuck you. There's going to be some shit that goes down. And I want to say when we next pick up, it's right about the same time that Quarren's having a heart-to-heart with the Doctor. And then he's talking about how much he misses his crew. Like you said, there's a little scene in there about B'Elanna Torres and just how she was giving Roxanne Dawson a real special shout-out in her absence. And the ship starts rocking. He's like, please tell me that this was part of the simulation. He's like, no, I think we're being attacked for real. And there's like a torches and pitchfork mob that is attacking it. It's the Ric Flairs, I believe. And they're pissed. And they just go through there with pipes and bats, just smash all the shit up real bad. They start throwing on photon grenades, whatever the fuck those are.
They recognize, for power when they see it. And they know the strongest weapon that they've inherited from all of this are, in fact, space pipes, and they go nuts in the place with it. And it's a chaotic scene. They're angry because all of this time they've been portrayed as this evil, villainous race. I mean, it's a little uncomfortable to make the comparison. But I think the most direct one that you could say is this is a what if scenario if 700 years later the history has shown like the Germans to be the oppressed and the Jews to be the oppressors, and everyone finds out it was actually the other way around. Like that would definitely like throw people's equilibrium off, right? Like what the fuck? We based our entire social structure off the idea that we fucked you guys when in actuality you fucked us. That's not cool. Riots, like that makes sense. Like there would be riots.
I don't understand why they're attacking the museum that's going to be proving I don't know,
because we only have one set, Peter. And we've got to use it.
Which does look strangely like a shopping mall and a true return to Voyager roots. So they survive the attack, and we've got the doctor and Quarren walking around, and the doctor's like, listen, I didn't sign up for all this. I would really like to clear my own name, but I'm a medical hologram. Preservation of life comes first and foremost. Right now, I am bringing harm and death by my presence. My crew, you guys can say whatever you want about it because they are long dead, and nothing that happens here has any real impact, presumably, on my friends. So let's just say I'm a liar. Let's just sweep this all under the carpet. You can destroy my program so the truth never gets out there, and we can go back to status quo and stop all of this violence in the streets. And Quarren's like, no, here's my hero speech. We need to fight for the truth. We need to do what's necessary and all that jazz. And then finally wins over the doctor. He's like, all right, well, let's find that tricorder. And we don't have to really watch the rest of how this unfolds. Instead, we find out that's our next Inception moment. That was all
wrong.
That was all a scene in another museum, even further in the future.
We're 3 layers deep in the dream, Peter.
We find out that these two go on to fight the power. They get the truth out there, and there is massive sweeping social reform. Voyager's name gets cleared, and the unrest dies down. And for all the stress and conflict, the two societies come together in a closer way than ever possible before.
It's a great Star Trek idealistic ending. Like, it's what Stevie says. Like, oh, it ended like, it's like a fairy tale for Star Trek. Like, this is the way we wish it would always work. The truth sets you free. It brings you closer together. It's a shame it doesn't work this way as often as it should, but it's absolutely the way you would expect Trek to end an episode like this, where by confronting the truth and resolving to move past, the use of the facts, quote unquote, or history to weaponize against someone else. We're just going to confront the truth together and then be able to move past it when we bring ourselves together. Very idealistic, very cool message. And we also find out that Quarren died a few years later. He got to see, the fruits of his labor and the unification of people. But the doctor actually stuck around for quite some time, was the surgical chancellor of both races for many years, but eventually decided to leave and get in a small shuttle and head back to the Alpha Quadrant because he missed home. He couldn't get past wanting to go back there, even if everything he knew was long in the past. which is a neat note.
I think it's cool that he was in a society of true equality, where he, as a medical appliance from a ship that had previously been the genocide craft, and was able to rise up to like the top echelons of their society. Like that's a really neat book. And again, yeah, to get in a shuttlecraft and go on the long voyage home and see what became of the Federation, Voyager, and humanity as a whole. Really cool sci-fi episode. This is the furthest forward in the future of the Star Trek universe that I think we have ever been. Obviously, it doesn't touch on Earth or what happens in the Alpha Quadrant, short of the fact that there's not like sweeping Mass Effect style intergalactic community. What we can take away from this, though, like maybe the only concrete fact we can say, if we were to count this as pure canon, right, with no questions, and again, you can do that because it's so far removed from anything else going on. But you can say that 700 years in the future, the Borg collective has still not taken everybody over.
That's true. I mean, that is the implied message of this episode, is that 700 years in the future, the galaxy is still intact, right? Like, potential, galaxy encompassing evildoers have not succeeded up to this point, at least in this corner of the Delta Quadrant. I think actually, doesn't Discovery season 2 end with Discovery going like 900 years in the future?
How many years?
Like 900 or something like that?
Maybe they'll go back and touch base with. Hey, there you go. They can interrupt. They can hook up with backup doctor. Maybe I would give a fuck about that.
I mean, that would actually possibly get me to care / watch. Nothing else possibly would. But then, like, showing up into the super future and then, like, encountering the Doctor, and the Doctor's like, hey, what the fuck happened? And then...
You're Starfleet, I'm like, Starfleet. What kind of uniforms are there? Oh, we're from 900 years ago. It's like, well, I'm from 700 years ago. That would be really... I would love to have a character on season 3 of Discovery I gave two shits about. Robert Picardo, please see if you can make this happen. That would be...
Yeah, please hook that up, buddy. We need you.
You could fish Harry Kim's dead, lifeless body out of the vacuum of space where he got left on Deathlock, and you could just have Harry Kim's corpse. Harry Kim, the most boring person in all of Voyager, and I would still probably enjoy them more than most of your Discovery characters currently active. Yeah, that CBS All Access pass is real appealing, let me tell you.
God, I'm just have this like bile in my mouth just thinking about Discovery, and it just makes me
flush it out, man. Because you're right. This is a great episode. I like that we were able to tell a what if story without it having to be a what if or a mirror universe or anything like that. Everything that happened here is perfectly feasible. It's cool to put the Doctor in a miserable situation like this. It's neat to see again what happens to the messes that Voyager leaves in its wake before it warps away, never to be heard from again, and how are its impacts felt, even with Janeway's best intentions fully known at this point, that she wanted no part of this, and they got the fuck out as soon as possible. It still became this scapegoat thing. Like they've done a couple episodes similar to that in the Eeeevil, and I guess to a certain extent Discovery too, but it's cool to see the cause and effect there. And you had your best actors putting their best feet forward. And I'm always down for a mirror universe episode. So this was really cool. I like this a lot.
It is my favorite episode. Hands down, not one of, it is my favorite. It was my favorite before because I just thought that the framing device of the episode was so unique. I loved all the campiness combined with like the earnestness, combined with the lesson, combined with the Robert Picardo's performance, that it really utilized Voyager's like predicament as a good plot device. And like you said, it shows the aftermath of their involvement in things. Even when they're not breaking the Prime Directive, they're still really influencing everything around them, and you never know what kind of impact that might have. And I think I liked it more now just because the lesson of intransigent, it being stubborn in the face of facts that make you feel uncomfortable, and having to change the way you see the world when reality doesn't line up the way you want it to. That is some shit we should all keep in mind, and something that this episode tries to teach us. So it's a nice note to leave on. We won't talk about what episode we're going to watch next time because we don't know much about it. It's the first episode of Picard. We're hype and also terrified, and we will see you next week with our review.